We're a very unique perspective on that because we were one of the agencies that was developed at. So we kind of helped guide its momentum forward. And once we saw that, and we kind of latched onto that because that is very unique in the corporate world when it comes to service providers or developing something that can be very useful to law enforcement. It's usually not like, hey, what can we do to make your job better, and what kind of tools do you need? It's more or less like, hey, we developed this tool, you need to figure out how to use it and work it into your workflow. And so what ForceMetrics did was completely unique to the industry. Was, what kind of tool do you need and how does it need to work? And so he went out there and he developed a product that said, all right, this is how law enforcement officers think when they get a call. And this is how they think when they need to figure out how to solve a case that's been reported after the fact. And this application was seamless in providing the abilities of us to streamline and basically expedite criminal investigations to resolve them peacefully and safely. And so, okay, so yeah, in 21, you guys came about, and we received our introductions, and then from there, it just was a beautiful relationship. To be a little bit sarcastic, but no, it's been a great deal, and man, it's been a heck of a journey. And so now we have a product that we can't live without. Uh, so I use it for, like, hey, I need to look up information about a particular incident. Usually I catch wind of things after the fact, or when cases get reported, and then you need to go up and you look up some information, some people, some involved circumstances. Sometimes the cases don't make it through the abyss of the law enforcement agency as it travels through the RMS system, and so they don't always get there timely. So when you actually get to read a report through the normal chain, you may not get there. Now I can just go look up certain circumstances, connect the dots. Hey, this is already been reported. Hey, this person did something again, but they've been previously involved in other criminal activity, very similar to this one, and this is where they were involved in this criminal activity at. And it's very easy to connect the dots and see what things they're doing. Not only that is, may look at it and say, hey, this detective over here, he's already worked this case, so, or he's worked this suspect in the past, so maybe it would be best suited for this detective to receive the next case because he's already knows the background on this guy, so it's going to make the case go a little better. So it helps you identify, you know, this detective may be key in investigating that case, and may help it resolve itself a little better. But so I use it from looking up information. I do a lot of follow up when cases come through our RMS, or through we follow up a lot of tips from the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, which we're associate members of. And so I get a lot of tips about potential children or suspects that are involved in illicit behaviors online. And so I use it to, like, cross-reference names, phone numbers, addresses, try to connect the dot who these people may be, because sometimes I just have an online identifier, but they may give an email address, or they may give a phone number that, usually if you're tagging or something, you have to use, maybe they'll have a trash email address, but they'll usually have to use a real phone number for authentication purposes. And so we can kind of use that to backtrack and say, oh, well, this guy's phone number comes back to, or this phone number comes back to this individual over here who called, last year to report, like something is benign as train traffic, crossing arm at the train tracks weren't operating correctly, and this called to report it. And now we got, date and time, put him in this location in this city, and I got a name, and I can kind of cross reference it from there and backtrack it. That's just one explanation, but you could use that in many aspects to kind of backtrack who your people are involved in criminal activity, and kind of connect the dots, who they're associated with, and how you can effectively solve cases. To do that with my current system, it would take hours to get that information correlated, which I can do it in milliseconds now with each search. So I mean, you're talking about time saving. Time is money, and so we want to be as efficient as possible. For my team specifically, so if we looked at the cyber crimes detectives, which many of their cases are still pending adjudication, so I couldn't go into specifics about them. But again, it goes back to, we started identifying who our perpetrator may be, and we track those through subpoenas, and back to service providers, whether it be like a online identifier such as, well, an online entity such as maybe like Snapchat or Instagram, and we're able to get some correlations to where you know IP address activity comes back to a specific address, and then we can use it to identify associate people at those addresses and or calls at those addresses, and we've able to corroborate when you're going through those step by step, trying to figure out who your suspect is. Again, you just may have a username that may be fake or may not, but it's tying back to an address at a very specific time. We're able to correlate that and corroborate allegations that will help further in furtherance of the case, so we can move forward and execute search warrants at those residences, and further identify those individuals, interview them, seize electronics, and even further solidify it. Hey, we do have the right perpetrator, and now we have evidence to uh, secure a prosecution and conviction. And so, from our aspect, we use it like that all the time. Patrol has used it for other things. Other investigators have used it for other things. I think one of our uh, claim to fame cases from some time ago was in regarding to a guy that committed an aggravated robbery at a local convenience store on our south side of our city, which is predominantly really well off portion of the city, and so it was really unknown, unheard of for an aggravated robbery to occur at this convenience store. And so the suspect was wearing some very unique orange Crocs, and so they were able to correlate that to a previous case where an individual who was identified and actually through his state identification, wearing orange Crocs, and lo and behold, he matched the description of the person in the aggravated robbery. Oh, and by the way, it was from a theft where they stole an actual handgun that was used. So, stuff like that is these are success stories that patrolmen did, patrol lieutenants, and so this is not calling in investigators. I mean, this is stuff, things of the past. Connecting those kinds of dots with that kind of crime analysis could not be done from a patrol car, and now it can be. And so now it's just a matter of spinning up your personnel to understand how the platform works, and let them see what kind of power they have at their fingertips and how quick they can get that information to rapidly deploy and resolve criminal offenses safely. To some extent, however, each person's focus is different. So if I was a patrol guy and I'm responding to a disturbance call at an address, maybe I've been there before, maybe I haven't, but what if I just pop in that address real quick and say, oh, here are my people that are usually the problems at this address, and let's say the last 30, 90, days, a year out, and say, okay, well, I've got a domestic at this address, and it's the same woman that's always being assaulted by this individual. Or maybe you have an unruly teenager, and you're like, okay, now I kind of see that this isn't just an isolated event today. So you have that information before you get there, and then when you get there and you've got everything calmed down, you can use it to, like, hey, if they're telling you a story like, oh, this has never happened before, it was a mistake, I fell down, he didn't do this, and you're like, well, what about the other 6 times? And so you easily can pull that information, via your phone, or you go back to your car and you look at it through your NBC. So patrol guys using it from that aspect. Now investigators going to use it a little different, but they're still going to use it. And so everybody has kind of the elements of what they're trying to prove when they're looking at their investigation. And when we say elements, that's like the elements of an offense is what we're trying to prove to make sure we have a crime. Is we have a crime that we can prosecute. Okay, great. If we don't, then this is not a true allegation. Then okay, great. But we did our due diligence and we looked at it. So from my standpoint, usually, you're trying to be equitable in your case assignments, right? And but y'all at the same point in time, you want to be what's most advantageous for your victims. And so if like, hey, this detective over here who works for you is probably better suited for this because of their previous relationship with this family, then man, you never know, because law enforcement is very unique in the aspect is you kind of get what you get. So your interaction with the public, even if it's a really bad guy, if you treat everybody with respect and dignity, even a bad guy is going to respect that, and later in life he's going to be like, hey man, thanks for treating me like a human being. And so it's not like you treat them like they're a criminal and they're beneath actually having an adult conversation with them. And so that pays dividends. So I mean, when you think about that and holistically, that's how modern policing is nowadays. that in itself pays itself back. So now it's just a matter of connecting the dots and seeing, hey, this person is more suited for this case than this person. We have seen that. However, I've been with this department coming up on 22 years come August. So um, taking robust call detail notes. If you go to a call and it doesn't generate a criminal offense report, so you would actually put in the comments of the call sheet, which you type that in from your car, as to you obviously know you're there for whatever reason. It could be a disturbance, it could be anything. But you get there and you're like, I contact this person, this person, and this person. You've got their complete identifiers, right? You might have phone numbers, you got vehicle descriptions you might have put in there, circumstances of whatever the issue it may have led y'all to be there, which may have been like just a civil disturbance and regarding something really stupid, right? But don't just put and then you would type that in your notes and you would clear the call, right? So that generate a criminal offense report that someone would actually write a report for. But those call notes were there. So uh, we did get to a time point in our department, but holistically, where we had less people writing notes, where they would put the call will be listed out and it would say disturbance of progress, and then instead of like saying I contacted, who are they contacted, they would say you know uh, civil dispute 10200, and 10200 in 10 codes means assignment complete. So in civil dispute just means, hey, I didn't want to take the time to write this down as to who was who, what, when, where, and how and what's going on at this location, and putting those people together. So we've always had some deficiency in that aspect, and it comes, it ebbs and flows with generations of officers that we get to this department. Um, because police are like, it's kind of like electricity. We're going to take the path of the least resistance, right? And so because it's easier, so we have to make sure we educate our people. And in any other department, like, hey, what you get out of the system. So if you don't take robust call notes as to what occurred, and you're not writing an incident report for criminal offense, then that's a ton of data and information you're losing on every interaction you have with someone in the public. And so that information is key later. It could be key, it could be paramount to solving a major criminal offense. Yeah, I would say it's the most pivotal piece of software that I've seen in almost 22 years of service. Been through a lot of vendors. They go out there and they tell you, "Hey, we got a system that you're going to love. It's going to do this," and or they sell you vaporware that doesn't even exist. It's like a, hey, it's just a pipe dream. So what I would tell somebody is, you can't live without this. It's the most useful tool that you will ever have in your arsenal, and you know everybody should have it, honestly. And so, like I said, it's the most pivotal advancement in police technology since a body cam or in-car dash camera. So it's the thing that's making a difference.